What's going on, everyone? Thrift Barrington here with Middle Georgia Sports Live, and it's another edition of Athletic Director Spotlight, sitting with an AD and talking about all the great ADs we have in our wonderful Middle Georgia area. And I am with the Athletic Director of Northeast Macon. He's also the Offensive Coordinator for football, track and field coach, and our good friend, Terrence Redmond. Coach, thank you so much for being here.
Good to have you here.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you allowing us to kind of showcase Northeast Macon. And we're going to talk about all the sports and what makes this place so special. But first, we got to get to know you. And we like putting a spotlight on all the ADs, men and women, that give a lot of time and effort for our young athletes to achieve their dreams. So, Coach, tell us your story. Where are you from? What ultimately led you here to Northeast Macon to being the AD?
Well, I'm originally from Macon, Georgia, from across the river, and based on the other side. Started out at Hamilton Elementary, Valley Hudson, graduated Southeast High School. Started out playing sports at the Middle Georgia Community Youth League, football, playing for the board of Coach OB and Coach Fair.
Nice.
Which got me started in it. Had a guy in our life, young Jonathan Roddy. I think he's a coach now. And I think he started his coaching career coaching all the young kids in the community. We're in our neighborhood, teaching them how to play. So he pretty much influenced all of us to start playing sports. And then the biggest thing I want to do whatever my brother did. So my brother played football. I snuck the football practice with him. So that's how I started playing football. But I always was a runner,
right,
believe it or not. So I always was able to run as a young. So I just really wanted to run. And so I fell in love with track when I got to middle school. First chance to be on the track team. So I ran track in middle school. Pretty much ran the 100 meters, ended up being a county champion in the 100 meter in middle school. So got to high school thinking I was going to be a 100 meter runner. And Coach had a different surprise for me. He said, Coach, you're going to be running the 400.
Wow.
So all through high school, I was a 400 meter runner and ran a 49 as a freshman. My only year, I pretty much had a good coach. And then I also played football, basketball, ran track, played a little tennis too in high school. And after high school went to Fort Valley for 2 years. I broke my ankle my senior year, so that kind of threw my recruiting off. And then being young, that's one of my things now is coming from a family that didn't really understand the recruiting process, right, and knowing what goes into it, and not understanding the communication part. When I broke my ankle, I lost a lot of communication with people. Some people pulled off. I had a lot of big schools looking at me, but once I broke my ankle, that fell off. So when I first graduated, I was going to go to Georgia. I had talked with the coach of Georgia Southern. I was going to go to Georgia Southern and walk on, but I ended up going to Fort Valley. My preacher came to the house. I was going to go to Fort Valley. Well, I was going to Georgia Southern in the spring. And our preacher from the church came by. He was like, what are you doing home? And I was like, I'm going to school in January. He was like, no, you're not. And so middle of the week, classes already started. He put me in the car, took me to Fort Valley.
Nice.
And so I ended up being there for 2 years and one playing and thought about playing there. And then I was home during the summer. One of my friends was in school. He was home. And so he was on the phone with the coach from the college he was at. And he was like, I got Terrence here and he finna transfer. And so he was like, put him on the phone. So I got on the phone and he was like, if you trying to transfer, I got a scholarship for you.
Right.
He said I had a package in the mail by the end of the week. So he sent it. I ended up going to Iowa Wesleyan, place never even thought about going in high school, school that never thought they could get me coming out of high school, so they didn't really recruit me because they thought I wasn't going to a higher level. And so I ended up going out there and played for three years. I didn't play my senior because I graduated and I just was ready to start being grown.
Right.
So I was like, I ain't chasing the dream. I had started having problems with my knees my last year. And so I just like, I'm gonna go home and get a job and be grown. So ended up coming home, and it's a funny situation because when I came home, I went out to the board and I was like, let me go down here and I need to go home and find a job because I was just relaxing all summer and thought about a job. And then so it comes July, I'm like, I need a job.
Right.
So I go down to the board and I was sitting in the office doing a little test you had to take back, and you had to do a little simple reading and math test. And so I'm in the office and the guy was like, did you talk to Ray Nett, who was the county AD at the time? And I was like, no. And so when I went in, he was like, he walked out, he said, well, when you get through, she said, come to her office. So when I go in the office, she was like, Terrence Redmond. So I'm like, how does she know me?
Right.
And so she said it too, she like, we thought you weren't coming back to Macon. I'm like, I ain't never told nobody that.
Right.
And so she was like, hold on. So she got on the phone. She was like, I'm going to call Southwest. And she was like, they need a coach. She called 3 times, they didn't answer. She was like, if they don't call this time, I'm calling Northeast because I know they need a coach. The principal answered on that 4th call, and she was like, guess who in my office? And she was like, Terrence Redmond. And she was like, send him over here. So I go over there, I walk in the office, and we talk for a few minutes, and then she just was like, oh yeah, the job yours if you want it. And I was like, I was thinking too, how she know me? Because she said the same thing too when I came out. We thought you wouldn't come back to Macon. And so I spent my first 4 years at Southwest, coaching football, basketball, track. Did 1 year wrestling. That was an adventure.
You had to give it a try, didn't you, Coach? You were trying everything at that time.
My first year they got me because they
Right.
told me I had to do 2 sports, and I was the only one that did have 2 sports. The wrestling coach, he gave me a sweet deal saying that he just needed somebody there with him, and so he got me that first year. And I learned a lot about it though, because I can help kids now, so like I know a little bit about it, so I learned a lot.
Right.
And so, and I did 4 years there. Then after that year, we got a new coaching change. Then Renee called me again, and she was like, I want you to go to Appleton and run a program, do football and basketball there. So when I came over here, I took the job, met with Coach Mullen, who was the high school coach, and then figured out what he wanted me to do at the middle school.
Nice, because you're the feeder system, obviously, with Appleton and Northeast.
So while I was at Appleton, I did football, basketball, track, and then, helped out wherever else with everything else. So.
And then Northeast came calling.
Northeast called.
What got you to leave Appleton? Because you were doing so much success over there, man. Why'd you want to take this opportunity?
It was hard. It was hard because I had been there for so long,
Right.
and I had opportunities to leave before, but I just felt like it wasn't a good situation. So I was like, I wasn't gonna leave if it wasn't a good situation. So, because Wiggin tried to get me to leave when he first got here, but when we talked, and I had to tell her, hey, you gotta remember, if I leave, it's gonna be recruiting fair. So for that purpose, I ended up staying till last year when they called and asked me if I would be interested in being the AD. So I figured it was time. Then talking to a lot of other people, they told me it was time too. So I made the move.
Well, we'll talk about this first year and how it's been with you and then what's future plans here in just a moment. But some other things I want to kind of pick your brain. You made mention of a guy that was a major influence on you and a lot of people back in the day when you were playing Little League sports that helped want to get you motivated to maybe be a coach. Who were some of them other mentors in your, whether it be when you were a kid or as a young coach, that have been influences in your life, man?
Like I said, Jonathan Roddy
Okay.
was a big influence. My older brother, Antonio. And then I had friends that I kind of competed with.
Right.
But I also looked at them too, because I looked at what they was doing too, which was like Joe Stubbs. I had a friend that he passed away, Tavares Roberts, who, when we were younger, we competed at everything, grades, athletics.
Right.
So there's always somebody I can find that I'm gonna compete with. But I had some coaches, young coaches, man, when I was young playing, when I first started out with the Bulldogs, with the Middle Georgia community, Obi and Coach Fair, would taught me a lot about being a man and the fundamentals. I always talk about that now. Me and my brother were always like, man, you remember the day when the elementary school coach really taught fundamentals?
Right.
And everybody was gonna know all the fundamentals of every position, stance and start. And we just losing that. So I just think about those guys all the time when I start talking to younger coaches and when I start talking about what they can be teaching. Even like when we get a coach and they all be like, the success, I ain't winning. I'm like, but the thing is, you want people to see that they being taught.
Right.
And I can live with that. If I walk in the gym and I can see that the kids are being taught something, I can live with a loss. I said, but if we losing and you ain't teaching them that, I said, that's a bad combination. So.
And I think that's a great point that you made, Coach, talking about Little League youth football. It's better for kids to learn every position, everything about the game. It's not about winning a Little League championship. As great as those are, Coach, we're both older now. I don't really think about those Little League championships as much as I do the coaches that invested in me, that helped me love the sport that I loved, which was basketball at the time. Where, in your opinion, did the love for coaching come in? Did you know when you were young, like in high school, when did it click, like, all right, Terrence Redmond's about to be a coach? When did that really come about, man?
Probably when I got to college. But for going into college, and growing up, I'm gonna do something with computers. I just want to do something.
You're
With
gonna be a
computers.
computer scientist, no
That
doubt.
was my goal from literally anybody you knew from little. That's what I was gonna tell them. And so when I got to college, man, one of my friends was talking. He's a coach too now, so and we was talking, and I was that man. I asked him, what you majoring in? And he was like, health and physical education and coaching. And I thought about it, and he was like, man, I'm trying to do something I know I ain't gonna get bored with. And I said, you know what? I said, I think I'm finna go change my major too. And then when I was at Fort Worth, my first year, so that I went right on and changed it because I saw a thing too. I was like, man, I can't just sit in one spot like that all day.
No.
Doing that.
You're going stir crazy once
Yeah.
you coach.
Everybody go crazy now. If they try to put me in the classroom just sitting in one spot, it bothers me. But like I said, with coaching, it's a different challenge every day, a different challenge every year because you get a different group of kids. So you're trying to figure out, it's like you start new every year. So you know your nucleus and what you got come back, but overall, I'm still trying to figure it out where the different pieces gonna fit in there. So that's why I kind of fell in love with coaching.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about the middle school where you got to cut your teeth, man. My granddad was a middle school coach for 30 years. I commend those guys because really that's where the athletes learn how to become a true basketball player, true football player. So this is your opportunity to talk about how crucial and how important those middle school coaches are. And I think now you know more than ever as a high school coach, they better get proper coaching in middle school. It's like starting over again when they get to high school.
Yes, and so and that was one of the things. Like when I came over here, I took that role on as being the football coach. I was like, I want to make sure everything we do is in line with the high school.
Right.
And I saw that when I was in college. When I was doing my student teaching, and I just thought about like everything in that community was in line with high school. If the elementary school, everybody was the Panthers.
Right.
The elementary school, the middle school, high school. They might be hardly elementary school, but they were the Panthers.
Always the Panthers.
You know what I'm saying? The middle school, it was two different middle schools, but at the end of the day, they were Panthers.
Right.
When, you know what I'm saying? The colors, the same. One might have a solid gold for the uniform color, one had burgundy, but everybody was the Panthers. And so, when I came, I said, that's how I want to do the middle school here. I want to be able to do everything that the high school doing. So the first thing I did when I came, met with Coach Mullen, what do you want to make sure they know before they leave me at the middle school? So I did that with football. And then by being a basketball coach, when Coach Groom took over, I did the same thing with him. I drove for him a little that summer when he first got here. I came and sat in on practices. I watched games, asked the coach a question, hey, what are y'all running right here? And I sit in the stands and try to figure out what they running. Then I go ask more questions, hey, when y'all ran this, what's the name of that play? And so I made sure that everything we did at the middle school was in line with the high school. And we just started building that way. And then when Wiggins got here, we really emphasized it more. You know, because he had the same vision too, making sure everybody had was on the same, at least the basics.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can go more in depth when we get to high school, but the base is the base. The kids should at least know the base, the terminology. When they hear this formation, they know exactly how to line up. Now, when we say something different off of that, they might not know until they get here. But the basics, that's something you can teach at the middle school. And so that's just my plan right there. And I still look at that for every sport. And that's my goal here, even with cheer, flag, every sport. I want them to at least communicate with the high school and ask them what they need to be doing. And that was one thing I instilled when I was at the middle school. I always try to make it a plan. Before you start your sport, before you start practices, go meet with the high school. Go sit in on they practices before you start your trials, awesome. Before you start practicing. I always told them, hey, you at least need to go to at least 1 or 2 practices before you start so you can see what it is that you need to know. And then I had a crazy fact. When I was at the middle school, the football coach that took over for me when I left, me and him, I kept telling him, you need to come to the rec so you can see where you're starting at. Because he'd always ask me, how you be knowing who going to play? I said, because I go to the rec every Saturday.
Right.
I go to both of them. I go see so I know who's coming. And so he got there, and he didn't realize how bad it had got with the coaching. And so when he was there, he was like, it was a real opportunity to him because he was like, why I got to keep reteaching? I said, you got to realize you really start from scratch. You start from day one football with a lot of them because a lot of the red coaches, like you said, they just out to get a win.
No doubt.
They ain't teaching no fundamentals. And then so they just, hey, you fast, let me give you the ball, you just run.
Right.
I said, so you start from day one football, starting with terminology, the alignment, stances, so everything is at the beginning level. So it gave him an eye-opener to what he needed to be And so with him building his coaches up at the middle school.
His name is Terrence Redmond. He's the athletic director here at Northeast, and I don't think it's any coincidence, Coach, that the last 2 years, 12-3 to a state championship. 2 years ago, last year, 10-3 in the quarterfinals. A lot of those guys played for you in middle school. You see the trend. If you work together in middle school, guess what? Those athletes are ready to make a contribution and be successful in high school. What we're going to do, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about Northeast Macon, his vision, how football's going, and more here. It's Athletic Director Spotlight on Middle Georgia Sports Live. Welcome back to Athletic Director Spotlight here on Middle Georgia Sports Live, and I'm with Northeast Athletic Director Terrence Redmond. Coach, now let's get into the part of you taking over the AD job here at Northeast Macon. When you got on the job, what was your mindset when you were talking to all your coaches about what your philosophy is going to be to maintaining success and building up the programs here at Northeast Macon?
My thing is just getting them to understand how much the middle school can help them and understanding that bridge process. Because like I said, when I was at the middle school, I tried to build it and have them come over. So now it's just getting them to understand their part and getting them to understand that them taking more initiative in showing the middle school what exactly you need from them. So that's the main thing I'm trying to do now, to change that role the way you understand that I need them, they need us, so we all got to work together. So,
talk about the high school football season this past year, man, and going 10-3, Toombs County. That's kind of been the Achilles heel. We're coming after you, Toombs. I promise you. Northeast Macon's coming these last couple of seasons. But talk about how year one went for you, offensive coordinator. I feel like a successful year, and y'all looking for big things next year.
Yeah, I've been an offense coordinator for probably like for the last 6-7 years since Coach Wiggins got here.
Yeah.
And when he first got the head coaching job, well, when he was in the process, he kept texting me OC. And I was like, nah, running backs. And then text me again, OC. I was like, nah, running backs.
She's going to get you, Coach.
So one of the other guy was like, I said, why he keep telling me OC? They were like, and one of the guys, he principal now, when I said the principal, he like, Red, he trusts you. I was like, I ain't think about it like that. He was like, he got to have somebody in this position that he trusts.
Right.
And we work real well together. So a couple times we had some issues. He fussing, and I don't argue. So I'm not arguing. So and he the head coach. So his whatever he says goes on the football field. And so like a couple times I might be trying to call one thing, he trying to call another thing. And so people like, how y'all be right? I said it works out. And like a lot of times people don't even realize I don't have an ego like that. But who be calling? I said everybody call the play. I said me, him, the receiver coach, everybody call. I said nobody has an ego to where I'm the man that calling out the play. I'm like, cause he see something, he call it. If I see something, call him. If the receiver coach in the booth, he see him. We all just, and like a lot of times the people be like, y'all work the well. I said because a lot of times he worried about defense too as the head coach. So me and the receiver coach would be talking on one channel, he'll be on the defense, and then he'll just switch over, hey, we need to run this, and then we'll start laughing. And he was like, what? I like, we already just discussed that.
We said we were going to do it.
Yeah, and so it just be funny how we instantly get on the same page.
That's awesome, man.
After a couple series, we all be thinking alike. So that's why it works so well with us, because like we can change, we make a good adjustment, and you know what I'm saying? Like I said, it's no ego when one person trying to do something, and it's a group effort. And so that's how we make it work.
How excited are you about for next year, and how's the off season going? Have y'all started are y'all doing any spring things going on, or because of it being a smaller school, y'all having to share athletes, it makes it hard to do spring football?
Well, we got spring football. Only thing it will interrupt with is the kids that make it to state and track.
I gotcha.
So, cause we're gonna start the 29th, the end of April.
I gotcha.
And so baseball will end up this week,
Yep.
unless they make the playoffs. And so, but the kids been working hard all summer, and all winter. They've been working. They've been in the weight room. We challenged the linemen to come out every day and run. So they came out track practice. They would come out do extra running at the beginning of track practice. Then they'll go back to the weight room because they have 4th and 8th period weight training anyway. But they'll come out, run with the track team to start out track practice. Then they go back to the weight room and get an extra lift in. Right. So the kids buying into that, understanding that Lister like that is going to put them over the hump for the Play-Doh long season. And that was the thing, like we talked about after that state championship run, we were like, we all realize how much it takes out of you mentally, even as coaches.
Right.
Because I remember Coach Wiggins telling us after the game, he was like, man, don't nobody call me for 2 weeks. He was like, man, everybody just take a break from each other.
Right.
But you know it didn't work. But that was the mentality. 'Cause everybody was mentally drained.
Right.
And that's the thing we trying to get the kids to understand now, that if you want to play those long seasons, it's more than just being on the field practicing. Everything comes into play to better withstand those long runs like that. So.
Well, football kind of kicks off the season for all the schools. It kind of sets the tone, and it set the tone for, I think, a pretty successful year in all sports, really.
Yeah.
Basketball, boys, was competitive. Girls made the playoffs this year. Volleyball was competitive. Baseball's been competitive as well. Talk about how the entire sports landscape for Northeast has been here under 2025, 2026 for you, Coach.
It is a building process. We still got a lot of work to do, being consistent with all the sports. And that's the thing we all talk about, building a program and not just teams, not just being able to say you had one good season.
You want to be long-term.
We want to be long-term, so we want to be recognized when you hear Northeast, you want to be able to think about everything and not just football, not just basketball. You know what I'm saying? We want every sport to have that respect. So when you go into a gym or a stadium or a field for baseball, softball, you want to know that I'm going in with a chance to win. And that started out with your building product with your feeder program. So that's the main thing we got to do, keep building that up so that we will be able to maintain a successful program. Because we got some teams and then we got a program, but we want to be an entire Northeast athletic program, not just a football program, not just a basketball program. We want to be a Northeast athletic program.
Yeah. And all of them being successful,
Yes.
too. And everybody supporting one another
Everybody
as well.
supporting each other.
I know that's a big
wrestling
deal.
did good this year. They
No doubt.
made area duels this year.
Nice.
And had a couple kids make it to state
Nice.
this year. And I think that was like the first time that they really made the team duels. So we don't have kids make it to state individually, but not as a team. So that was a big accomplishment for them. So
Awesome. I'm glad that we're able to celebrate that, Coach. And another hat that you have to wear is track and field.
Oh, yeah.
And you have 900 million athletes that you have out there, dude. I know you're doing the boys. We'll talk about who does the girls with you and how that season's going. And I commend you, man, because you got so many athletes that are under your tutelage. Who helps you out and who helps do the girls with you, man?
Coach Ways is the girls coach. And then the two assistants is Coach Allen and Coach Freeman. Coach Freeman mainly deals with the throwers. And then Coach Allen, he does the distance runners. And Coach Wade, she was a hurdler in college. So that's more her expertise. And then I just pick up the slack welder. But we make it work, though, because we all work together. So that's the thing, just making sure all of us know our role and what the kid can get better at, what we can help the kids get better at. We got one kid, I don't like highlighting just one kid, but I think he deserves it. He's on two-time 400 meter. He's junior this year, but he's region champion, freshman and sophomore year in the 400 meter.
Awesome.
Last year he took on the 200 meter, and he ended up being region champion in 200 meter. So I don't think he lost he ain't lost it, but he been doing pretty good. He ran a 49 Friday at the county meets, and so we're looking for how a good showing when we come to region on the 20th, and possibly. We told him last year he got on the podium for both, but this year we won't be at the top. So he already got his spotlight on the guy that's ahead of him right now time-wise. I think when he finally see him face to face, I think he's gonna have something for him. So.
You talk about your team, and we've talked about your coaches and how you're getting everyone to buy in. And obviously, your big message is bridging that gap. That you've done a good job with the middle school, but we got to talk about people in the admin office, man. Because if you don't have the same vision as your principal, there can be a lot of friction, man, and it's hard to be successful in sports. So talk about your relationship with the principal here at Northeast Macon, and then we'll talk about your relationship, obviously, with Citywide AD Kevin Grooms and the great job he's done.
Well, the thing about it, our principal, she's a graduate of Northeast. Our assistant principal, he's a graduate of Northeast. So those two, and then our other principal, she's also from Macon too. So, and the one thing about them, they are very supportive. If we got an activity going on, one of them most likely
They're gonna be
might
there.
be 2, 3 of them there, but we know every time if something going on Northeast, they're gonna be there, and that's the big thing. And a lot of times she kind of stays back, but she watches what's going on, but she let us handle it. We're athletic, but she always tell the coach, I'm here to support you, whatever you need, I'm support you. You got anything issues, just let me know, and then we'll make it work. So that's the biggest thing you can hope for in this position: have administrators that don't bother you, and they're gonna support you.
Yeah.
So
And let
whatever
you do your
need,
thing.
they let you do your job, and they just hold you to that. Hey, coach, do your job, and then we'll be out. That one less thing they have to worry about. So that's what that's the plus that every AD can ask for. So.
Right. And when talking with Kevin Grooms and talking to some of my guys, y'all have a tight-knit group, y'all ADs here
Yeah.
in Bibb County. And it all starts with Kevin, obviously. Talk about a guy that coach here at Northeast, was a long-time basketball coach, what he means to you and the job he does allowing all you ADs to be successful at your school.
The thing is, like I said, when we were talking earlier, when they told me I was the AD at the middle school, nobody told me what that entailed.
You had no idea, did you?
We were just figuring it out. What we got to do. Eligibility, what you got, what do we need to turn it? So it was just a figure out as it go process. But when he became the county AD, we started going to the conferences. And that was an eye-opener, that first conference. We took them first legal classes, and you realize, whoa.
This is different.
We've been spared a lot. Because you start looking at them court cases and see all the stuff. You start thinking about what kind of stuff going on your campus. And you're like, oh, we don't been saved. So you go back telling your coaches, and they still looking at you crazy. So now, hey, let me pass it. We're going to read these court cases. And you start to see they like, oh, we never knew you couldn't do that. We didn't know you can get sued for that. So it was an eye opener for everybody. So and then as it went on, he encouraged everybody to get certified, and so I got nationally certified and taught a class. That was one of the big experiences for me and two other coaches. We taught one of the classes at the state conference. And so that was a 4-hour class. So just imagine 4 hours talking and people. But it was real eye-opening, learned a lot. So that was one of the biggest things that he brought to us, making us learn really what all goes into it and not just winging it or trying to figure it out as we go. So the professional learning has been big. So like even we do the little cohort with Spalding County, Henry County.
Right.
And like I said, for me being first year at the high school, every time I go, I learn something different, and that's my main thing is just learn what can help me, and I think that's one of the biggest things that he had brought to us with the learning part, the knowledge. So
Professional development,
yes.
That's a big thing, and I can see you care about it, Coach.
Oh yes.
Let's talk about athletes nowadays, man. They're a lot different than when we were playing in school, dude.
Yes.
For the young coaches, young ADs, this is you putting your mentor hat on, man. How do you tell them to go about coaching the modern day athlete? Because it's a lot different. Now they want you to prove it. They want to know that you got the credentials. You better be real with them. If they find any fakeness in you, they're going to call you out. Talk about how hard that is. What's your message to those out there, young people that are trying to get involved and become the next Terrence Redmond and AD?
And like I said, I've been challenged with that in the past because my last couple of years at the middle school, I had young coaches that I taught and coached when I was in high school. So I kind of encouraged them to get into it. But I always used to tell them, make sure you always prepared. I said, because kids are looking to see what you don't know. If they know you don't know, or they feel like you a little doubt that you don't know, they're not going to trust you.
Right.
I said, then they want to know that you're genuine. If they know that you're genuinely here for them, majority of the time, they will respond and play for you. Once they know you care about them, they're going to respond. I said, but if they feel like you ain't here for them, it's going to be a challenge. So that's the one message I always tell them, just make sure you're genuine and you let the kid know that you're here for the right reason. And don't have to do it. Like I said earlier, is just making sure that you teaching them. Because the kid want to be taught. So if they know you teaching them, you can live with that.
Yeah, no doubt. His name is Terrence Redmond. He's the offensive coordinator, football coach here at Northeast, who's been very successful. He's also the track and field coach, and more importantly, he's the athletic director. Finally, Coach, this is your message to everyone out in the community. This is not just to the Northeast family. This is to everyone here in Bibb County and the surrounding Middle Georgia area. If they want to go out and support Northeast Macon athletics, y'all need support. You need businesses that want to be out here. You need volunteers. I mean, it's hard being an AD and all these events that you're having to be at, this is your message to them on how they can go about that process, whether it be volunteering, donating, however it may be, if they want to support Northeast Athletics.
The thing I would say is just come show up for them. Show up at the games. When you see them in the communities, you ain't got to say a lot to them. Just keep encouraging them that there's always something better they can be doing. And the thing is, like, we always encourage people to come volunteer. You can always come by the school, fill out a volunteer application, and just get a turn. There's a lot of people out there talking about it, but kids want to see that you're about it. And anybody that knows about East Macon, that's one of the biggest things over here is this community is real tight-knit. A lot of the people over here has been here forever. They're not going to leave. Their kids going to be here, and they love East Macon. So if you come here, that's all they want to know, is that you love East Macon too, and that you're willing to give them everything that they're willing to give you. And once they know that, you know what I'm saying, you'll get a lot out of them. So in the community, we just continue asking for your support and thanking you for your support.
Well, Coach, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Glad we got to tell your story, man. And
Appreciate
good luck
you.
this upcoming next year. You've done a great job here in year one.
Thank you.
This is Athletic Director Spotlight here on Middle Georgia Sports Live with Terrence Redmond. Wrapping up. We'll see you next time.